So today I'm going to be talking about the Wind-Up Bird, the Wind-Up Bird Chronicles by Haruki Murakami. Came out in the late '90s, I think, and it is a very interesting. I'm trying to figure out like when I read it. It's been about 4 years, I think, maybe three, and I'm trying to draw from all the plot details because there's a lot of stuff that kind of converges, or rather, kind of diverges, but it's not like not in a bad way at all. I mean, it never gets boring, that's for sure, but it is hard to remember. But it does concern the protagonist, who is Toru Okuda, who is kind of a youngish kind of guy, maybe in his 30s, and he is married to his Kumiko. But she is more the kind of like breadwinner in their family, and he's kind of more laid back and passive. Like he doesn't, nothing phases him in a kind of comical way, and this is kind of he makes a great foil actually for all this different stuff that's happening, this crazy conspiracies and everything. Kind of reminded me a bit of like a the wind up bird, but like a more kind of localized, kind of cozier version of, I'm sorry, not the wild a wild sheep chase, where there's like lots of different. It starts off with like a singular thing, which is in this case it's Toru Okuda looking for his cat, very prized cat, which kind of symbolizes a lot in their marriage between him and Kumiko. They both really love this cat, and they're trying to find what happened to it. And it's that kind of reminded me of this, the missing sheep, and they both have a lot of some, I think, overlaps. So yeah, he's right now he's like, I think he's like supposed to be a lawyer's assistant, but he spends a good amount of time at home, and I think he's unemployed at this particular time. So he's about to go out looking for this cat, and then he starts right off the bat. I love this is probably one of my favorite kind of cold openings ever, which is um hard to pick, but it is right when you see Toru. He's cooking pasta, and he's like ready to go about, and he's like, "There's no better way." He like says that there's no better way to cook pasta than to the Thieving Magpie by Giuseppe Verdi. I think, is that a Verdi opera? I'm not sure, but either way, it's like it definitely does have a lot of style, and like a kind of interesting kind of way that you're led into this life, this kind of um, cozy atmosphere, I guess, of it. Like you're almost being welcomed into this home of theirs, and but yeah, right off the bat, he's um, looking for this cat, and then his neighbor, who is May Kosha May Kashahara, is his teenage neighbor, and she's like really bubbly, and she's like all the time because of the amount of times that she sees uh, Toru. Like he's always looking for this cat, and he always, I think, she takes to calling him Mr. Wind-Up Bird. I think it's because he's using, or he has one of those Wind-Up Bird decorations, I guess, that looks like a Wind-Up Bird, or maybe resembles or is fashioned after one. And yeah, there's a lot of comic kind of um, intrigue, and like like just a lot of like fun and loving. Like it's hard not to love May Casher. I really liked her character. She was like just really affable, but also kind of had a little bit of issues back home. Like she was like talking about how uh, there's just lots of kind of strife and drama going on in her teenage girl life, and a lot of those things. And she's very upbeat in spite of those things, but then she'll have moments when she'll like mention something just really dark and like left field. Like she'll be like, "Do you ever wonder about death, Mister Windup Bird?" And but yeah, she just like starts like really like poetically, kind of like just And I know some people have given Murakami a hard time for using characters that are otherwise not, you wouldn't expect to be this precocious, I guess. Like um something like in Kafka on the Shore with Kafka Tamahori, I think. There's like a like the fact that he's supposed to be a 15-year-old boy, yet he's like so um kind of like knowledgeable of all these different things, and like the one character too is like gives all these poetic monologues, and people have said that, but I think that's like I think it's a fitting thing. I don't think it's something, I liked it, even if they do get kind of tiring after a while. I think they kind of add a sense of color to the story, I guess, whereas rather than the mundane plot details are sometimes not enough to kind of push a story forward. So, but in this one, you have so many different things happening. Like you have the missing cat, and that sets him off to there's like these uh his wife's kind of oddball kind of family members, like Lieutenant Mamiya, I think. He's like totally um um or maybe not. Notoru Noboru Wataya is the other, like, is his brother, that's like kind of a popular guy. He's like um the media seems to take a liking to him, and but at the same time, like he doesn't, the main character doesn't understand why at all, like why people like him, because he doesn't really see a lot of like um depth to him. Like he seems kind of vacuous and kind of just like in just all status driven and kind of so you see that clash between kind of the ambition and not just with him but also with even his own wife, like not saying there's any divisive, but you can definitely see like kind of a contrast between the way they view the worlds. Like uh like Kumiko is like a lot more career savvy, and she's like a little bit more like, I'm gonna grab the world by the horns, and because like stuff that happened in her childhood, like her, I think her older sister died, so she had a pretty a lot of struggles and hardships going through her childhood, so she's now trying to assert herself in the world as a kind of almost as a kind of like vicarious way of living out her sister's life, I suppose. Like maybe there's a bit of a psychology there. I'm not sure what there's to be reaped or rather sown from that. But yeah, I think it's a lot of really colorful personalities in this one, juxtaposed over the passive kind of Toru, and he's just kind of experiencing it. He's kind of like a flat orc, not entirely. Like he does learn, like he does, but when he does, it's like kind of like in a um, it's I'm not sure if you get any sense that he's um, like, even though he's heard some pretty extreme stuff, like the one colonel slash lieutenant, I guess, that was in I think it was like the Manchurian operation, like during the Manchurian War, and then he just goes on this long. There's a very undiluted, uncensored scene that I must tell you about. There's trigger warnings, I guess. Like, the book probably has it if you're like reading it, but yeah, a lot of them, like with the he's talking about like when he was an officer and like being a prisoner of war in Manchuria, and how they basically like skinned one guy alive, and he's just like, oh, then she's just like, and then they did this, and this is how they did it, very methodically, just going through it, and he's like, and that's like that's like stuck, plastered in his mind, and he can't get it out like ever, like it's just something that keeps him up. um and that was like one of those things, like the horrors of war, especially around anything post or even uh, World War II, anything related to anything of the campaigns or anything like that, especially with like the rape of Nankin too, is like a really great, really awful kind of stain of just like inhumanity. Um, but anyway, so there's also the Maltakano and her sister May. Um, Kreta Kano. Krita. Malta. She names herself Malta Kano, I think, after being a kind of, she's a medium. It's like it's obvious that she's like a psychic kind of medium, and she thinks her. This is where it gets magically realistic, where it differs, I'd say, from like say something with like Mishima, or a lot of um, maybe Osmodaze. Like you're not hearing as much, you're not like experiencing as much kind of like how much of this is reality, how much is a dream. Like you do in some senses. Maybe there are definitely some that, but yeah, there's definitely points where it's like hard to tell what's happening about something. Like is she really a psychic, or she just thinks she is, or she, or in the storyline, or maybe does Toru think she is? But yeah, there's a lot of kind of like hard to differentiate what is real and what's fact, what's fiction. So she's goes she's had a lot of different kind of experiences off in Malta, and then she ends up naming herself after the island, and but then she's also kind of employed by in order to help find this missing cat. So this kind of gets deeper and deeper, and then there's also like other really strange kind of serendipitous things happening. Like this random lady keeps calling Toru, and like with the like sexual advances and stuff, and like you're not sure if she's like a call girl or something, or if like just like a phone sex worker. I'm not sure, but it's like I'm not sure if that is something that was tied up later on in the novel, but I think yeah, there's a lot of different themes that underlie this one, like kind of the absurd, I guess, like the absurdity of life. Um, I guess the yeah, definitely like that kind of the opposite, the kind of laying juxtaposition of opposites too. Like I said about Toru is very passive and laid back and not rocking the boat about anything, and then a lot of the but everybody around him is like kind of the opposite. So yeah, the wind up burger. That's all I have for today. So thanks for watching.